Welcome, Sree. Over to you to take us through dealing with AI.
All right, so we're going to talk a lot about AI. This is based on a workshop that I call my non-scary guide to AI that I've been teaching in various countries since last year. And you can see that the QR code, you can grab that. There's a link, bit.ly/Sree Assembly. So if you just want to grab that, you can do that as well. And my way of background, I've lived in the US for a long time. I first went there at the age of 9. My father was an Indian diplomat. You heard him mention Japan. He had no problem picking me out in the window at the hospital. He said, the brown one is mine. And I got to live around the world as a diplomat's son, and including Japan, Bhutan, and Moscow. At the height of the Soviet Union, I used to speak fluent Russian, and I would come home saying, Lenin is God. And I was a full communist, and being from Kerala, that helped at a head start. I have a Tamil last name, but I'm actually a Malayali, Nair from Kerala. These are things you would never say in a US gathering, right? Your caste and where you're from and what state and what your last name is. All of this doesn't matter, but here in India, everybody knows all this stuff. So anyway, so I did all that, and then eventually I moved to New York at the age of 9, as I said, and I became a capitalist, and I started saying John Lennon is God, and changed my life. I told my parents when I was 12 that I was going to be a journalist, and they started crying immediately. No Indian parent wants children to be journalists. And many, many years later, I founded something in the US called SAJA, the South Asian Journalists Association. In Urdu, we say Saza instead of Saja, and that's sort of correct. And we're a group of 1,000 journalists across the US and Canada. And we like to say that means there are 1,000 parents still upset about their children becoming journalists. And one of the things that you might, you've read a lot about Sundar Pichai and the CEOs of IBM and Starbucks and all of these places. But the same thing has happened in journalism in the US. And the CEO of the Associated Press is a Sri Lankan American. The head of Vanity Fair, Radhika Jones, is an Indian American. There are about 20 different news organizations headed by Indian Americans. Some of you know Raju Narisetti very well. Raju founded Mint here in India, and Raju now runs McKinsey's entire publishing arm. And those are just some examples of South Asians who've done really well there. So my work has been as a journalist. After telling my parents I would become a journalist at 12, I got my first byline in a newspaper when I was 16 in the country of Fiji, which sounds as great as it is to go to high school there. And I worked for a newspaper called the Fiji Sun. Its tagline was, the first newspaper published in the world today. Not the oldest newspaper, but the first newspaper because of the date line, right? So if you've been to Fiji, there's a sign there. It says, tomorrow, yesterday. Tomorrow, so you can take those kinds of pictures there. Anyway, so I knew this is what I want to do the rest of my life. I actually didn't want to go to college. I just wanted to be a journalist. And some of you have journalist backgrounds yourselves, or you deal every day with journalists. And this is all I wanted to do. But I came to Delhi to get away from my parents in Fiji, and I started working as a journalist basically 20 hours a week from that age of 16. And I was a proofreader at a newspaper called Sunday Observer. Some of you will remember that. And we used to work in Daryaganj. And our job, all these proofreaders, was to sit behind the typists who would key in the text, right? So journalists would write the stories on their typewriters, and then they would be printed out, and then people would professional typists would type, but they needed somebody to proofread as they were typing. And this was in Daryaganj a long time ago. And suddenly one day we got bought by the Ambanis and moved to Vijay Bank building in Connaught Place, and it was a big transition, as you can imagine. We had electronic desktop publishing in 1991, which is very early. And in fact, I had email in 1991, but we had no one to email in 1991. And one day that I will never forget, it sort of changed my life, was not the arrival of email, but I was reading an economist that would come to the office, and in it, it said, there's a new thing happening in the world, and if you type a colon, a dash, and a close parentheses, and turn your head, it's a face. It's a smiley face, and they use the word emoticon. I've never heard of it. Now we call it emoji. But that moment of turning my head and seeing this sparked something in me to think about what digital means. And this was 1991. I then got to work, I worked there, and then I eventually got to work at the launch team of Business Today, which some of you will remember was in 1992. And that was also an amazing experience to work with some great journalists, Anand P. Raman, some of you remember, R. Jagannathan, and so many other people. And then I went to America to study at Columbia to do my journalism. And while I was there, I wrote for ET, BT, and when this great journalist named Apan Menon was on vacation, I would be the World This Week New York correspondent. Some of you would have watched World This Week because we all used to watch World This Week. And I had hair then, so you may recognize me from those days. I hate to say this, but there are people in this room who were born after the World This Week, right? Raise your hands if you've never seen World This Week by yourself. I mean, live on TV. I hate all of you, you're too young. It's really, really sad. And so that was my journey in journalism, and I stayed on to teach at Columbia for 20 years as a professor, and then there was something new that came along in the year 2012, and these were called MOOCs, Massive Open Online Courses. Anybody remember these? Coursera, edX, HarvardX. You could take a class anywhere in the world from any professor in the world. And one of my friends started it. It's a guy named Sebastian Thrun, T-H-R-U-N. He's a German-American. He invented 3 things that had an impact on the world. One was Google Glass. Do you remember Google Glass? This was supposed to change the world. It really didn't. It still has a life as a B2B product in some places. He also invented the driverless car at Google. And he invented these open free courses. And he would say that people were more scared of free education than they were of the driverless car. And what he did in Stanford, he was a Stanford professor at the time, he took his intro to CS, computer science class, and put it on the internet. So he went from 200 students to 49,000 students. And that, of course, caused panic in education because, as you know, American universities charge a lot of money for these classes, and here's this guy giving it away for free. So I was asked by Columbia to become the first chief digital officer of Columbia, working on the future of education. Then I went to work at the Met Museum as working on the future of culture, and then the city of New York working on the future of cities and citizens. And at that time I was in India, and I got to meet many mayors of many cities as digital became something that people were paying attention to. Now I run my own small social digital consulting business, and one other thing I'll say about journalists, because you all deal with journalists. I'm actually curious, how many of you have been journalists in the past? Look around you. Don't hold it against them. There you go. So a nice big number, right? So one of the first things when I met my wife, she said, I hate journalists. So I said, I have to marry you. And we did, and I can explain why at another time. But let's get started. I want to talk about AI and where we're going and what it all means. And I'm going to throw at you a lot of ideas, tools, names, and tips. So it'd be really good if in your notebooks or on your phone or on your laptop, whatever you have, you make 2 columns. And the 2 columns could be something like try now and then try later. Right? Just to make sure that you're able to track these things. We're going to throw so many, not just me, all your speakers are going to do this. This is what we call annotation. And the art of annotation is one of the great skills of the 21st century. How do you take a fire hose of information and distill the most interesting, important points? Not just for yourself, but for your colleagues, your teams. I'm sure when you go back, you'll want to have a lunch and learn with your colleagues about what you learned. You've been missing for a couple of days, so they'll be curious. And so you'll want to share some tips. So the art of annotating things is really important, and I encourage you to work on that skill, especially as we do this today. And I hope this is the first of many opportunities for us to work together and to keep in touch. I've learned something from many things from Amit, but one of the things is the importance of showing up and being there in person. He does that better than anyone else, and you guys all know that. So Amit, here's to you, and salute to you, Amit. I like embarrassing him in that way. My company is called Digimentors, and we do a lot of PR, marketing, communication stuff. We do a lot of training, and in the last few years, we've been doing these AI workshops, but also scenario planning, strategy, policy, questions for AI. And one of the other things we do is event amplification. We take events and blow them up. One of the projects I worked on was the Nita Mukesh Ambani Cultural Center launch in Mumbai. Some of you saw the digital stuff. I was working on that from New York for 10 months and then came on the ground for 10 days, and it was really fascinating to learn all that. I'm going to be, as I said, a lot of tools I'm going to mention. You should know that I make no money from any of the products I mention. If I do happen to, I will tell you if I have any connection, but I don't. And so here, one of the things that people are doing, moving away from business cards, right? So many of you have like a QR code on your phone, right? There are many products that do this. I use Blink, B-L-I-N-Q, blink.me, but Capterra has a whole bunch of Indian options, including POPL, WAP, all of these various things, so you can see that. Also in my presentation, everything that you see here, any images, you can click through and read the original so that the document is more useful than just the photographs. But I do encourage you to take pictures. I see you all doing it with your phones as you see slides. I'm going to show you dozens of slides. It's like showing you 1,000 slides. You'll never look at them again. But if you have a few slides on your phone, you might look through them and you might remember things. So this is one of the tools that I recommend, but there are so many of these. Anyone want to shout out a different product that they use instead of a business card? Anybody? No? Okay. Who here still loves visiting cards, business cards? One person. Everyone, please give him your business card, your visiting card, or 2, 3, 4. Okay, they're slowly coming out. Yeah, 5. All right. So get their visiting cards for sure. Since we're talking about new products, I want to tell you about Product Hunt. Has anyone seen this? This is the best global place to keep track of launches of a product or a service. Anything digital, they put it here. And every day, there are dozens of brand new products, tools, platforms all being launched, and it's called Product Hunt. And you can see people upvote them. And in a single day, there might be 10, 12, 15 AI things launched in the last year. Many years ago, this was all about social media and social media tools being launched. Now it's all AI things being launched. You can see here, number 1 is Document AI, eliminate manual work and streamline document-based performance. SoCap AI, grow your network and fundraise faster with AI. You just see there's so much stuff. This is intriguing to me. Brighten your spirit with a daily dose of goodness. That sounds good. We have a lot of badness in the world, so goodness sounds pretty good. I'm going to now talk about 2 things that have shaped my work and the things that I think about in the work I do. And the first is this slide, and the idea that the scarcest resource is human attention. How do we get it, grow it, keep it, is the defining challenge of our lives. And you're all experts in it, right? You're all doing this every day. You do this with the journalists, you do this with industry, you do this with your colleagues, you do internal attention, external attention, all of that really matters. And I was in a meeting with the former publisher of the journal, Wall Street Journal, and I just love this, and I really think about this all the time. You might say, Sree, you're wrong. The scarcest resource is clean water, is peace in the Middle East. Yes, those are important issues, but the way to solve them is through attention and getting it and growing it. So that's one thing. And Amit's team, they know how to get your attention. That's why you're all here. The other is my theory of the 2 footprints. I believe we all have 2 footprints. We have a physical footprint and a digital footprint. Our physical footprint is everyone who knows and loves us already. And The digital footprint is everyone else in the world. And if you only concentrate on your physical footprint, you're going to leave resources, opportunities, impact, influence on the table. And we want to change that. And I'm talking to a room of people who do both really well. And that brings me to address the idea of AI as well. I know there are people in the room who are bigger experts on AI than I am, including, by the way, Hemant. If you just wave from there, Hemant is the team's in-house AI person. So I'll encourage him to jump in at any point he'd like to, and others in the room as well. Many of you use it every day. Many of you champion it in your companies. So please bear with me as we will be talking about different levels of this stuff, and I'm hoping that we will all get a chance to learn as we're sharing and talking. So these two things define my work: the idea of scarcity, of a human attention, and how to get it. And as you can see, I've been doing this for a long time. You can see computers used to look like that. I used to look like that. And now I teach this AI stuff. But I used to teach workshops to PR people in things like how to use the internet, a new product called Google. I used to have workshops on how to do email. I had to convince PR people and journalists to use email. Why? Because they preferred the fax. Anybody remember the fax?
Yep.
Why did they prefer the fax? Because you could see a logo, letterhead, signature, and where it came from. There was a phone number in the top. Who here has never sent a fax? Raise your hand if you've never sent a fax. Look around you. I hate all of you as well. What this tells you is how life changes, right? One of the reasons why comms people are often reluctant to add new technologies because we deal with so much technology every day, right? For our teams, for ourselves, for our families. And so when somebody comes with something new, you're like, oh my God, one more thing to deal with. So how do you find that balance? That's really the thing that I think we all can kind of think about. When I was at the Met, people would ask me, Sree, how come you don't have QR codes next to every painting? And I would say, Americans hate QR codes. And QR codes are an example of technology that flew much higher and faster in India than they did in the West. Another is text messaging, right? If you say to most Americans, even today, if you say SMS, they won't know what it means because they didn't grow up using that term. They just didn't understand it. I used to come to India and talk about the importance of voicemail. And people say, why would we use voicemail? Indians don't use voicemail. And so they taught me a technology that I took back. You know what that was? Missed call technology, which is amazing. And I would say, you need voicemail because you need to understand who called. They said, that's the missed call, will teach me that. They don't need it. So I took it back. And QR codes also, I saw QR codes being used here much more than in the West. And certainly more than America. Things changed, of course, as you know, because of what? Because of the pandemic, right? And menus turning to QR codes. And so now you can see a lot of QR codes. But there's a marketing and comms lesson in this whole story. And that is that Apple created a QR code reader in the iPhone in 2014, but did a poor job of telling people about it. You know how Apple releases like 75 features in one day, right? And then the good stuff often gets lost. So a lesson for us, the greatest marketing machine of all time did a poor job of marketing a great feature. And so that's the lesson for all of us. Anything we do, no matter how small, we need an internal marketing plan, an external marketing plan. Every level of stakeholder needs their own plan. Like no matter how small. Imagine if they had marketed QR codes properly to Americans 6-7 years before they had to use it. It would have been very, very different. So you know all the platforms here, LinkedIn, Instagram, WhatsApp. What's that? Snapchat, yes. Yeah, Snapchat, Messenger, Venmo and PayPal are American payment products that you may not know. Twitter, TikTok, and WeChat. Right? WeChat is huge in China. There were people using it here when it, of course, died. The last two died. One thing to think about with WeChat is not China's Twitter or China's Facebook. It's all of those things, right? It's also their ticketing app and all these things that they do in there. It's their everything app that Elon Musk is jealous of. And you know how he is ruining Twitter, right? He basically set it on fire. $44 billion he just set on fire. It's something amazing to watch. But the reason he's doing it is because he's jealous of the everything app that exists. He says X is the everything app. He's just added banking and he's added dating on X. What could possibly go wrong? The answer? Everything, right? It's going to be horrible. And that's to come. But I put my email address here because email still matters. Not as much in India because we're such a WhatsApp culture, but email still matters in doing important things. And I'm sure Amit was in touch with you on email as well as on the other ways. I just want to throw up my LinkedIn here so we can make sure we connect. You can always find me. If you can spell my name, you can find me, but otherwise you're welcome to connect on LinkedIn. One of the things that's happened as a result of the change in Twitter, the problems with Facebook, the pay-to-play nature of social media today is that a lot of people are moving back into LinkedIn or emphasizing LinkedIn for their company, for their personal work, professional work. It's really changed in the last year, 2 years. And so it's fascinating to see how people are using that. So I want to take you back, I've talked about a lot of different dates, but I want to take you back to 1989. And one of the things I have learned is how hard it is to explain technology to people because technology is complicated and there's so much going on. So in 1989, a man named Tim Berners-Lee, some of you know the name, in Switzerland, sent his boss a proposal. You've all done this where you send your boss a proposal. And the boss wrote back, vague but exciting. The proposal was, as some of you know, for the World Wide Web. So everything that was on this slide starts with this proposal for this. And look at what the boss says, vague but exciting, right? So even when you invented the internet or invented the web, the internet existed, but the web did not. That's what he was doing, and people didn't get it right away. And of course, it changed the world. But keeping track of tech is hard. Can anybody tell me what we're looking at here? If you're in the front row, you can probably read a little bit of the top. But it's the Bloomberg terminal and just the Apple headlines in a single day. To see how much tech news there is in one day, the number of headlines. How do you keep up? It's almost impossible. If you look at current valuations versus 10 years ago, you can see the change. And these numbers have changed again since I put this slide together. They've gone up, in fact. All of these numbers have gone up, and so it's kind of fascinating. And NVIDIA, now, is number one. And it's very interesting to see Jensen out there in his leather jacket. Out there doing his stuff. So, I'm going to show you now some brands. Anybody know these brands? Probably not, but you all know the current versions of these brands and you're all communicators. One of them I'll give you, which is Auction Web became eBay. You can guess that. But all of these became household names. The last one not in America, not in India because it's an American brand. Sound of Music became a brand called Best Buy, which some of you may have heard of. It's a big electronic shopping thing. So anybody want to shout out, back rub? Anybody know? Became Google. Cadabra, anyone? Became Amazon. Auction Web became eBay. Peekaboo became Snapchat. Bourbon became Instagram. Matchbox became Tinder. That you might have been able to guess. Is Tinder popular in India? What about Hinge or Bumble? People are like, I've never heard of any of these things. I don't know. I've heard of maybe. I don't want to admit I've heard of Tinder. I told my wife, we've been married 25 years this year. The secret of our marriage is that I told her anything you find on my laptop or on my phone, it's research. That's the goal. And that has kept my marriage alive. And then Kibble became Netflix, and Sound of Music became Best Buy. This is why communicating and keeping track of technology is hard. I will show you at the end of today, I will show you similar brands in the AI space. Things that are now you've never heard of. Some of them will go on to become like this. Some of these you'll never hear from again. And it'll be kind of fun to think about that. So we're looking at the estimated boost to the global economy of AI. Look at these numbers, right? It's kind of staggering to think of this boost in the next 10 years, what's going to happen. But we're also going to see automation affecting employment. And you've probably seen these charts from Goldman Japan, US are about 25% of jobs will be affected, and India is down there at about 12%. Globally, it's about 18%. And you know why India would be lower, because of the labor market, the way skills work in India, all of those factors. But it's still interesting to think 12% of Indian jobs could become automated because of AI. Hemant, please jump in on any of these slides. If you have a thought, jump in. We're all here to learn together. Any of you want to, if you have updated information, you have something that reflects on the work you're doing or something in your company, just jump in. This is a very relaxed, informal opportunity for us to learn. There's not a lecture, not a speech. So please jump in as you're doing that. So one of the things for all of us as communicators to think about, what happens in a country when 10 to 12% of jobs change or disappear? How will our companies work? What will happen in our own companies? Without naming any companies, can you think of companies, maybe yours or another company's, can you think of companies that have more than 10% of their jobs will be affected? You don't have to name a company, but can you think of some? Yeah.
Comms as a profession in general.
Comms as a profession in general, yeah. That itself is going to be affected and has already been affected by this. Well, what's the first thing that AI can do really well?
Coding.
Coding, right? So you could have been in a seminar like this and somebody standing here said, okay, everybody pull out, we're going to start coding right now. And that's what changes. But we have an obligation. Like one of the reasons, you can tell I don't like Elon Musk, right? You can tell. Many people love him, and maybe many people in the room, so forgive me. But you saw what he did to his employees, right? 7,500 employees, he fired 3,500 in one day and was proud of it, right? I would forget the economics of it, right? Whether he really needed everybody or not, or anything else. And you know what he did? He went after those H-1B employees who couldn't do anything and made them work 18 hours a day. And he kept them and made them work 18 hours a day. So I think we have an obligation and something to think of in terms of what does this mean for us, for as a society, as a country? What do people do if they don't have jobs, right? So that's where I think it's a fascinating question that we will answer more. And Amit, please pick on people you know who. Go ahead. Sir, go ahead.
All right, I was just
happened to job, but people reinvented themselves, and there were newer opportunities and new things started happening, and then it was again back to business as usual. Don't you think the same is going to happen because of AI and as an enabler, maybe new things come up and then it just normalizes the whole thing?
technology and society has always been impacted, but the speed of change is what matters this time, right? So I think it's good to talk about speed of change, whereby society will have difficulty in adopting at that speed, in terms of new jobs and things like that.
Thank you.
Account from Bloomberg News.
It only took seconds to spread fast. The Dow now down about 200 points. The
2 minutes later, the stock market dropped $500 billion from a single fake image. Anybody could have made that image, whether it was intentionally manipulating the market or unintentionally. In some ways, it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter whether it was intentional or not. So we're about to see a flood of these images that's going to affect everything from business to politics, society. All of that stuff is going to happen really, really quickly, and it's going to be something I don't think we are ready for, and we need to do a lot to change that. Here are some of the technologies I used to teach, and now of course there's so much more. One of the things that a student of mine once said this, and I loved it so much I put it on the back of my business card. He said, we do some jobs for money and some for the honor and privilege of doing the work. If you get to do both, we're lucky, and I think many of us, where you work, you feel that you're lucky. But that's what's about to change with AI, and then how do we think about what that happens? So during these sessions, we will cover some of these topics, and I'm not going to give you any homework because we're going to do it together, but here's a good homework slide you might want to give to your colleagues. I'm going to just show that to you. Ask them, there are 3 ways you can use AI in your work. You can ask them 3 things to be careful about and 3 tools you want everyone to know about. It's a great exercise. Just email the team and say, come back with this and let's have lunch and learn, and let's learn that, right? Something like that you can do. So these are things that I want us all to be thinking about in the back of your head, thinking about that. This is one, oh, sorry, I know some of you are still taking pictures, so go ahead, I'll give you another second to do that. Of course, you already have the presentation, but Amit's team will circulate the presentation. Sarika already has it. She'll email it to everybody as well. So this is one of my favorite memes, where Bart Simpson says it's the hottest summer of his life, and his father tells him, no, it's the coldest summer of the rest of your life. I work with something called the Global Heat Resilience Service, and they're saying, you remember how the summer in Europe was really bad in 2023? You remember that? They're going to say in 3 years, we're going to look back and say that summer was really good. It's so scary what's about to happen. So of course I made a ChatGPT joke out of it. He says it's really scary, but it's just getting started. It's the least powerful, least available, least ubiquitous, least scary it's ever going to be. And so how do we think about that? I promised a lot of tools. So this is my first tool I'm going to show you called mischief.app, which allows you to put yourself in any famous movie scene. That is in fact me as Sean Connery in which movie? Is there a prize here for quizzing? Which movie is this? Not Casino Royale, very good guess. Dr. No, the very first James Bond. And here I am as Han Solo, and here I am as Daniel Craig. And there are lots of Android apps that do this, right? Where you can swap faces, but nothing that does it as well with AI. So this is mischief.app, just write it down and you can have some fun. You can even do this. That's me as Barbie. Have some fun with that. So part of what I'm showing you is that things that already existed are now just done faster and better with AI, right? And that's what you want to think about for your own work as well.
Just a question.
Yeah, sure.
But to take these kind of apps, sorry, I'm Himanshu from Grassing. I'm just trying to say that, to use all these kind of funny apps and, the way it is, the kind of security you're trying to, break your own security because you have to give so much of information to them and you're opening your networks to them. Is that fair? I'm just trying to understand that, at the back of the mind, this is fun, but the kind of breach which you're doing, and a lot of corporates, including ours, a lot of things are banned across, and because now you're using their phones, you're using their laptops, a lot of things. So how does I'm going back to Sujit's question. If there's a kind of a limit to the growth part of it, will it grow? That is what.
That's great, thank you. And that's a very important question, right? Questions of security, confidentiality, privacy, we'll get to those in a minute. But some of these tools, what you want to look for are tools that don't put things on their server, right? If they're done just on your local computer, that's one thing. And of course, your CTO looking at this would be like, no way, you can never do this. But you could do this at home or other places. And so it's something we certainly need to all be thinking about as we go through this. So I went on to ChatGPT and said, show me a picture of Elvis and me. And I don't know who looks worse, me or Elvis. And look what it says. It says, I served as chief speechwriter for President Bill Clinton and executive editor of the New York Times. Now my mother, my late departed mother, would have loved this. She would have been so excited if this was true, but it wasn't. And this is the problem, right? Like someone like me who has been around a long time, who has a Wikipedia page, all of those things, it's so easy to get that information. But this is the noise pollution that we're starting to see out there. What are mistakes called on AI? What is the name that they're called? Hallucinations, right? I hate the word hallucination because we're letting them off the hook. You say it's just a hallucination. It's like a mirage in the desert. It doesn't matter. No, these are mistakes, errors, big effing deals. Let's not call them hallucinations. So I'm on a one-man campaign to end that term, but I'm failing miserably because people like using that. Here's a cartoon about the unemployment office and people in the unemployment office being laid off. But I have the best quote that I have seen about what happens with the future of AI and where we go from here. And that is a quote from a writer named Daniel Pink, who writes a lot about technology and someone whose work if you ever get a chance, pick up his books, they're great. I'm sure they're available at the airport. And he said the following. He said, AI won't replace humans, but humans using AI will replace humans not using AI. Right? And that may be the only slide we need today. We can go home, give you back 2 hours, and then you can come back for lunch and the other great session. This is what you have to think about. And what does it mean within your team? What does it mean for you as a leader? What does it mean for your deputy? What does it mean for your teams? That cascading effect. And do we do this? How do we get this? How do we get these skills? How do we think about it? Is something that I want to work on. Now, AI isn't new. Here is from 2012. I wrote to my friend Zeba, and AI changed her. It's not AI, but tech changed it into Zebra, right? Or you've seen Grammarly. I don't know if it's popular in India, but it's very popular in the US. So do they have an Indian edition, an Indian English, British English version, or do you guys use the UK? You can use the UK version, right? But we need a Indian version because there'll be things that we say in India that are different even from the UK. And sometimes you find the AI is in you. I went to get a colonoscopy, which I understand is not a big deal here. They don't force it, but in the US, they really force colonoscopies on people. And you know how a colonoscopy works. A camera goes where you typically don't have a camera, and what they're looking for is polyps, right? And to see if they are cancerous and to remove them. They're looking for these adenoma detection. And my doctor, who's in his 60s, he says to me, I'm so excited about my work after many, many years. We have AI in our cameras. It's not in the camera, it's in the software. And I have saved dozens of lives already in this last year because I'm using AI. Because you see this 1% increase in this detection rate decreases patients' risk of colorectal cancer by 3%, which is huge, right? And you can see the improvement has been at 53% in some cases. So you can imagine what that's doing, how many lives are being saved by AI. So whenever we talk about AI, sometimes it's not clear what we're talking about. Any medical PR people here, comms, anybody from the medical side? Yeah, so if you want to just talk, I just put up a slide here about healthcare and AI. Do you want to say anything? Tell us who you are.
I'm Jasrita. I've worked with Max Healthcare and Fortis Healthcare, which are the two large healthcare delivery networks. And now I'm with a health tech firm, which is working on cancer from early detection. Yes. Maybe I'll come in later on what we have to say.
Sure, just
sure.
No.
Okay. No, I think in healthcare AI, in medical AI, there are two things that we are seeing at the same time. On the one hand, it's helping people pick up cancers earlier. Like we're already training an AI to pick up oral lesions, because amongst men, oral cancer is higher, at least in states like this where there's a lot of tobacco chewing. Large parts of the country, South India and Punjab. So one, we're trying to train the AI to pick up oral lesions so that a radiologist or a doctor is not there. And these early detection camps can happen in the remote areas. So using technology, you can pick that up. So we are training that. So on the one hand, there are wonderful benefits. But on the other hand, what our researchers are seeing is that all the inequities which are already there in healthcare system, the AI is just sort of accentuating it, right? So for instance, if women are underrepresented in the clinical trials and stuff like that, AI is just sort of, in a way, legitimizing it, because whatever the computer tells you is right? So I think these are the twin things that we are dealing with.
Thank you very much. Vinod Khosla, the name you know from Silicon Valley, he says, some of you may have seen this video where he says that he doesn't say if, he says when I get cancer in a few years and somebody in a remote village in India gets cancer, the person in India is going to be, in that village, is going to have a better outcome. And you say, why? He says, because my company, what will happen in San Francisco is there'll be a kind of standard operating procedure, so to speak, about how to handle cancer. Whereas in these remote areas, they'll have to do new cutting edge interventions. And so, obviously he's exaggerating a little bit, but just that idea that we can be leveling the global playing field, I think is exciting and an opportunity for us. And this is why I showed you this, is AI shows up in surprising places. But all of this with AI and all this stuff changed in 2022 with the launch of ChatGPT, as you know. And this 4-week-old startup got 105 million euros, 4 weeks old. Imagine all the work that you know with companies who do great work every day, profits for decades. They would never be able to raise this kind of money. In fact, now a year later, they've raised another 500 million euros. These guys, they look like a boy band, by the way. And I felt like if AI doesn't work out, they could be a boy band and go on the show or on the road. A lawyer cited 6 fake cases made up by ChatGPT, and a German tabloid just cut 200 jobs saying AI will take care of it. They didn't know what it will do or how it will do it. They just said, we'll take care of it, right? And so that's an example of all of this started in October of 2022. Here's an example of Amnesty International using AI in a report. Look at the image they used. It looks so bad, right? And they were criticized for this, for using an AI-generated image. But think about the PR team, the comms team. This is not AI's fault that this was published. This was a decision made by leaders at the comms team that published this. The sad part is there are excellent, terrible, but excellent pictures of these protests from 2021. So this was published in 2023 when this happened, right? So at the end of the day, it's our human decision where we use AI, how we use it, what we do with it, right? Even the probably junior staff who generated the pictures, it's not their fault. It's the decision-making process within the entire company that says this is okay. And we had a professor who tried to fail half his students because he thought they were using ChatGPT. And then immediately that same university within 4 months has an AI literacy course for all faculty, all staff have to learn how to use AI. And this is a problem in every level, right? From second standard to PhD, how to deal with AI and the education process. This is a useful way of thinking of AI, and encourage all of you to note this. This is the work of Mustafa Suleyman, who just became the CEO of Microsoft AI. He was the head of Google AI. And he says there are 3 waves of AI. The first is classification AI, which is basically saying, this is a glass, this is a light, this is a board, right? That's classification AI. The second version, where we're in today, is the current wave, where you're typing in something and something brand new comes up. Text, video, photographs. The third wave, interactive AI, will be when you are seeing the AIs work autonomously. They're able to independently operate. I will show you later a slide from Zoom. Do you remember we were promised robots that would do all our stuff? But somebody had a response to this. I don't know if you saw that. It didn't go as famous, but he said, I find doing the laundry very calming and therapeutic, and so I want to be able to do this. So I don't know where we land with this. But the whole point of wish list, so this is a wish list, and we want to hear that. So what we're going to do is go to every team. You have a name. You have somebody who's going to stand up and tell us. We're going to take notes here, and I'm also going to try to put it on the screen. And we try to be as succinct as possible so that we can, you saw 1 bullet per idea. So we have about 7 groups or so. We're going to end up with lots of really good ideas. And if we had more time, then we would rank them, and then we would launch a company based on those tools and all that. We don't have time for that. Okay, so since this team finished first, we're going to give... Oh my God, you're going to fight over that also, okay. They seem more enthusiastic, Okay, you will concede to them. Okay, so who's speaking? Shh. Introduce yourself, please. Who's speaking? And also tell us your team name. And Sarika is going to write over there. I'm going to try to write on the computer. All right, let's go.
Okay, my name is Sanaj Natarajan. I work with Wabtec Corporation. So the team name is IDEA with AI.DEA.
Okay, very sophisticated. All right, so IDEA, AI.DEA.
DEA. Oh, DEA is small.
Okay, like this. Okay, like that. Yes?
Correct.
Okay, idea. Okay, idea is.
Yeah, so we have 4 points where communications can be supported. First is, how can AI help with crisis in terms of preempting the crisis? That includes risk mitigation, policy, understanding the landscape, having a competitive analysis of it, and the sentiment, the tonality of all these.
Listen up, everybody.
Okay. The second is, how can communications work contribution to the organization's top line and bottom line? The ROI, right?
ROI? Define it in a second. Of the comms team.
Of the comms organization or the function.
Okay, but keep going, guys.
Then is how can we custom content or support with asset creation?
Okay.
Yeah.
Asset creation customized to different stakeholders and organizations.
Oh, different stakeholders. Okay, good.
And last one is how can we identify deep fakes and fake news? This can be outsourced, but yeah, if the function itself can.
All right.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add? Anybody from the team?
Yeah, just add. We want
Go
to,
ahead.
so
Mike.
yeah, if there could be a sort of like a content acceptance score when we put out content and we have to for different generations, different cohorts, different groups, different stakeholders, how will it land on them? So some sort of a content acceptance, yeah, before we put it out.
Okay, so they're proposing something called CAS. They should trademark it, copyright it. CAS, a content acceptance score in advance of how will it land, right? Okay, excellent ideas. Give them a hand, please. Very nice. Nobody wants to go last because all the ideas will be gone. So here's what happens. One second. If there is an idea that comes up again, we'll just put a +1 there. Okay, so don't worry, your idea won't be long. Okay, team name, please.
I'm representing a team. My team name is AI Yogi or Comms Yogi, given the Yoga Day today. I'm Manisha. I represent Max Life Insurance here. Our ideas are, starting with a couple of ideas that are for problems as
Something like
happening on that. The other one is internal comms and to drive greater engagement with leadership communication. And I heard Sarvesh say that the podcasts don't really work out to be as effective. So how do we repurpose some of the existing content and optimize on the time of the leaders? So around, because today that takes a lot of time to create bite-sized videos out of it. So how
Because
can
of
we
permissions,
create
because of
exactly permissions and getting the right pieces out together. But ideally, I would like to feed in saying that these are the sections that I want where my CEO has talked about these things. Please churn out 5 or 10 videos bite-sized like that. And that can be then probably. The other one again, very, very immediate text to video. I know these things are happening, but how can we actually have a real tool for corporate communicators to get the right messages, translate the videos into text? You see that on Instagram Reels also. The next category is.
Oh my God, they have categories, everybody.
So these are like immediate, and I think the other one is more about how we can influence and shape the discussions at the board level. And I think Team A also talked about that, which is that how can we anticipate risk that can or topics that give sleepless nights to my CEO, and enable him or her with the right insights for these conversations. Sorry, right?
No, keep going.
Forms that we use, a lot of data on how our brand is being talked about, let's say, or social influencers who are out there. So 2 levels. One, if we can get some insights where we can actually, the tool can help us identify the influencers that we should map to drive our brand or organization narrative. The second is from a consumer sentiment also getting generated. And today a lot of us deal with NPS from a customer perspective. So if the tool can help us actively identify in a digital NPS scenario that who's going to be our promoter, detractor, or a neutral passive customer, that would be actually a helpful input for the board as well. So that would be our bit. Anything you'd like to add?
My MD is going for any interview, and after the interview he says that, what are the mistakes I have done? And I point out, 6-7 points that can AI pick out those mistakes my MD has given in the interview, and he can go forward. One is that.
Wait, so just explain that again. Sorry, I want to mistakes of. So we all are MDs. Yeah.
So if the MD is going for an electronic interview, after the interviewer says that what are the mistakes I have done, I may list out 5 things, but we'll say no, if AI can pick out mistakes or can give tips on how to make it better, maybe a hand gesture or rolling out eyes or maybe messaging, that will be great. Second will be, yeah. Second will be measurement. I know, measurement is something we all talk about, but TV and print is easy to measure. But how do you measure podcast, Twitter chat? What is the impact? What is the kind of sentiment analysis? How do you make it? That can be a second point. Third, can you list out 10 things which Copcom people can blame on AI?
So we are seeing something political scenario, for example, that's happening, or some changes that's happening in the world or in the country. Maybe that could hit us some way. Are we well prepared for it? Or at that moment? Next,
AI will be in caps.
Where's the AI in here?
So we will add an AI.
It's also chaos.
It's chaos and Chayos together. The best of both worlds. Okay, so our first idea is when, for example, there are times when we're called for a meeting and we're told that, okay, there is a product launch or there is something new coming up and you have to have a strategy for it, some ideas for it. Our first task would be to go to AI and check what are the best ideas for that specific kind of a product launch, or if there is a new thing that is a new initiative that is getting rolled out, what are the different ideas and narratives that we could have for that, okay? And a second would be also to give us a all-encompassing strategy, an integrated strategy across all platforms, whether it's traditional PR, new age PR, social media, all of it, internal comms included, all of it together. Is there a strategy that we can have across stakeholders that will maximize the potential of the campaign that we're doing? That's the second. A third.
Sree, I'm seeing all our jobs going.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, what will we do?
No, so we will choose the best one. They'll give us options.
Choose the best one.
Any AI
keep going.
Okay. A third is for crisis. We had a lot of these ideas come up for crisis. Ours was that when a crisis happens, if AI could give us a couple of similar situations that have happened across the globe, and what were the different initiatives taken, and what were the different outcomes that happened because of that. If they could give a comparative chart and give us the different options that are there for us open at that point in time, once a crisis happens. And we can actually take a call based on that.
Okay, do you like that? Yeah. Okay.
And the final is synchronization of strategy and execution. Sometimes what we see is you have a great strategy in place, but the execution doesn't happen properly. So we want to ensure that AI gives us a few options on each of these strategic points that we have. What are the different options, tools and channels that we have through PR and communications which we can utilize.
Okay, one more point in the back, yeah?
3 more actually.
Okay.
Before we start, I want to capture
What's your name?
Ram, where AI plays the role of the servant and we play the role of the master. So ability to use it, I really like that.
So you're saying, sorry, say that part again?
So we embrace AI with a partnership approach.
But you're saying not, that's not
where
what
we are the master of, in the sense that decision making is done by us.
Right.
And the AI is giving it inputs which we can use. So the intellectual autonomy of humans is retained, essentially, that's the point. So from that perspective, we give a germ of thought, and the idea that emanates from that is provenance solicited, was that then we look for options, because the AI has the advantage of the universal data set, right? So we would like to use that. The idea really was to prepare one base content asset. Let's say a larger narrative, a press release, or a write-up. We feed that into AI, and then we give out all the content assets that we want. Yeah? Can that bring it? The only caveat being the tonality that is suitable for that audience, and the suitability for the channel, the format suitability for the channel. So that was the other idea.
So something like this, I wrote AI creates all.
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, okay.
It's all so much of chaos and so many big names. So we called our team as IO, which is AI.io. Yeah, okay, so IO is the team name. That's the 6 of us. We had lots of points. Number one in the priority was considering the diversity of India and the kind of states we have and the different narratives and the different appetites for people who consume data. Can we have a tracking of region-wise sentiments about our own brands so that we drive narratives which are focused and dovetail to region-wise sentiments, which will enhance the power of our own communications. That was one. Second was
This sounds like a good idea, right?
Yeah, clap. All right. The second point, which was coming up very strongly, was during crisis communications, the sentiment analysis. Because again, like a conglomerate, large conglomerate has different businesses across different geographies within the world, within the country, wherever across the geography. So the sentiments are again different. So what is the kind of sentiment? How is this crisis or narrative been accepted? If you get that sentiment analysis, again the communication can be quite pointed and much more effective. So that help can be immediately garnered from ChatGPT or AI-led systems. The third was around identifying key opinion leaders and influencers and journalists who actually write on that particular beat, so that with outdated media lists, this would be probably a very big help in terms of identifying the right people and reaching out to them.
Point is an intelligent dossier. So a lot of times we have to create kind of a dossier for our bosses and various things. So if there's an intelligent way in terms of positive, neutral analysis, as well as the rankings, including everything together, like it could be TV, print, podcast, everything, but as an intelligent dossier, which also talks about the scenarios. The third is a continuous crisis surveillance kind of a play. So it keeps on throwing you future scenarios depending upon your company, because your competitors also feeding in some information to the chat. So are they sharing those kind of information with us? So I'm more interested. I just came with one of my own. It's not like the group, but by using AI. So this is my own problem, which I felt as a Comcom head. Prompt. So, see, AI is as intelligent as I am, because if I am saying something, he will answer back. I want AI to give me intelligent prompts. So maybe मैं उसको पूछता है, वो आंसर करता है. मेरा ही अक्ल है ना. Finally, it has to give me, Himanshu, you're wrong. These are the 3 KBC things, and this is the prompts.
उसके लिए Alexa है.
AI. One second. AI, Captain.
Okay, go ahead.
Alright, my name is Arun and I'm from DSP.
Guys, we're almost done. Come on.
So we have a lot of things in common, but I'll just start with the ones that are a little different. So one of the ideas was to have an indicator of trust in data. Now with the profusion of data all around, when we are putting out stuff and we are doing our research and probably putting out material,
Nice. I think that's a good idea.
we would like them to come up with a degree of trust. So that's one. Number 2 is AI compliance. Compliance plays a big part in all our communication and how fast it gets out. So if we can use AI to produce material that is compliance ready and almost, so it'll cut short the time that it takes to get it out. We also have a refresher session for our spokespeople about the do's and don'ts and all the best practices when it comes to communication. So once we do the main one, and these refresher year-on sessions can be done by AI, and it can get it better. The other thing is, these are the main ones.
We are not aware of the history, milestone, the crisis that the organization has been through.
Archive,
The archives are there, but then it's not easily accessible. You can't wade through. Right now we're going through something which is going through information right from 1960s. Is there a way that we can plug into the AI and it can give us that information and tell us, and also give us, like they spoke about crisis alerts, can say this is what happened in this customer advocacy, this customer created a problem, or this political situation, this is bound to happen kind of thing. So that those kind of alerts and prompts.
Nice pitches for journalists, right?
A lot of times we sort of put together pitches, but we don't know what are the key things that will click with the journalist. If after writing the pitch, we sort of feed it into the AI and they give us exact bit, which will fly with the journalist, that will be a great idea. Also, generation of videos based on text, I know it got short, but how do we sort of fine tune it further, extract the right bits which can be leveraged with whichever type of audience we are targeting for. Another piece is for internal communications. A lot of times the jargon-led heavy language don't fly with all types of audience. So if we sort of add the content in there and they simplify it in English itself, which will fly with all types of audiences, shop level, high level, everyone. And the other one is risk mitigation, especially a lot of times once the crisis sort of snowballs and comes to us, that's when we realize. But if there's a way of constant monitoring, not just giving us update that hey, this person has written, that person has written, if they give us like real time how much it's increasing, it will just help us sort of plan for the crisis ahead. Yeah, that's about it.
Okay, bring them up. We'll take a photo and Sarika and I will touch base to make sure these are accurately described. But folks, there are some good ideas here, and I hope you will look through them and you can talk to your own teams. I'm going to just ask Hemant, what is your, once you looked at this list, how many of these things are already there, or we're close to it, or we could get it if we wanted?
From various perspectives in an unorganized way, and that's probably the biggest systemic roadblock for AI development, is that there are lots of little niches where these researchers and these questions are being answered, but there's scope for more collaborative effort, something like this perhaps, or something at an industry level where people can come together and figure out, okay, so what do we mean in terms of ethics and what do we mean in terms of jargon or some of these issues. So I think we're at that stage of AI right now where all these efforts are happening in silos and we are not really leveraging the power of collaborative efforts. But in the sense of, are these being sort of thought about right now? I think most of these are in some form.
Okay. Hemant put into the, as a tool for the marketplace, and so I don't know if it's Reputation Today or somebody else who can do something with this stuff. There's some very good ideas here, so thank you for that. To bring non-English AI tools and platforms. I don't know if anyone here has worked with them or seen what they're doing, but lots of opportunities here. This is done in rural Karnataka. This Manu Chopra's work, but there are so many efforts like this all over the world. So I'm excited about what the opportunities are there. So let me talk a little bit about errors, right? And not hallucinations. But one of my clients is a UN migration agency, and they do a lot of work in Eastern Africa with motorcycles, people using motorcycles. So somebody on the team generated 2 motorcycle images, an error, a mistake. This one, right? The guy's body is not real, right? So the problem is that this is definitely mistakes, right? Mistakes you can see. But turns out this is also has a mistake. There's only anybody here who's a bike rider will know the handlebar, the center of gravity is wrong in this, is what somebody said to me. Someone else may know also. Any other thing? I don't know. What were you going to say?
Yeah, most of the bikes in Africa.
This type of, so that's also another error, right? So when you look at this versus this, the problem is that we think all errors are like this. The problem is a lot of errors are like this, where only an expert would be able to tell, and that's the problem. So one thing I want to just get out of the way, I meant to say this earlier, is that a lot of the ideas we heard, right? Somebody saying produce an all-purpose campaign, do the strategy. That's what AI can do. But what we do best is expertise, and expertise really matters now in the age of AI. Human expertise, your background, your knowledge, your network, your ability to relate to your MD, all of those things are things that you can do better than anyone else. And that's why when people say, oh, my job's going to go away, we kind of joke about it. But where do we provide something different, something special? That's what we need to keep thinking about. So that is our expertise, that we can tell you this is wrong as well as this is wrong, right? Anybody can tell you this is wrong, but can you tell you that that's wrong is what we're going to look at.
What's on TikTok? guys cool if I play some sports? I love it. More for the audio experience. As much as the momentum. Hey, listen up, sports and TikTok fans. If you like what you're seeing, just wait till what's coming next. That's fine. It's a little embarrassing, you know, it reminds me, once in Russia, ran into Gorbachev. He said, Mr. Movie Star, why did you go to this?
Okay, you know where this is going. This is not Tom Cruise, right? And this is one of those things where you say, can you believe it with your own eyes when you see and hear it really sounds and looks like Tom Cruise? And this is one of the problems that we encounter. So I'm going to ask Hemant to come up here, and he's going to show us another tool. Remember we showed you HeyGen? So he's going to show you how he used HeyGen in his work, and you can think about using it for your work as well. So go ahead.
Thanks, Sree.
Then I'll ask him a couple of questions as he shows it to us.
Yeah, so we've seen several applications of what some of these tools can do, and I wanted to show you one that I found particularly interesting.
I'm privileged to be here at Assembly Bhopal, a one-of-its-kind initiative of bringing communications leaders together for 2 days of learning. Bhopal is beautiful. Thank God आज बारिश हो रही है और गर्मी भी नहीं है. For the Kannadigas in the room, idu clike inde tumbiru verdu dinglu tombagi utte. Nivu belastu tipnigil mutegel kollutiri natu belastu nikagil mudini mimadi kollutiri and lukchit pidisi kolli.
So, I guess it's pretty clear that this is not me actually. This is generated with HeyGen. This is completely AI generated. I don't speak Kannada. But with this tool, I can get myself to speak in any language essentially, and speak in any format. So, and this is possible because I created an online course on AI, and because of that course, I sat in a studio and I had a lot of raw footage of myself speaking into the camera like that. I used that raw footage to train this AI tool to create a digital avatar of myself. And thanks to that, I'm now able to just put in a script and create any sort of video of myself talking in any language, talking in any format. Right? So this was just to accentuate a very basic point about AI and creating content out of AI, whether it's text or whether it's audio or anything else. It all depends on the quality of the reference data that you're putting in. So I was able to do this because I had very high quality video and audio data. Yeah. So I was able to do this because I had very high quality video and audio data. So if you are using AI tools in the future to create replicas of either written content or audio content or video content, it all boils down to how high quality your data is. And imagine the implications of something like this. You have first of all, because of this digital avatar, I don't have to go back to the studio again. I can simply type in a script, and it's as easy as that. Type in a script, hit translate if you want to translate it into multiple languages. You can connect it to an Excel sheet and give unique scripts and to be sent.
Personalized, customized by name, right?
Absolutely.
So you can send a video to a particular person with their name. Yeah.
Absolutely. So great degree of customization. So what this high quality raw reference data has made possible is an amazing amount of scale, amazing amount of customization, and the possibilities are endless therefore, because you can get your spokespeople to talk in multiple languages, and thanks to this, I'm forever young. So this video is going to be available for a long time. So that's just to sort of highlight the importance of most large language models, most AI tools depend on the kind of quality of your input, right? And that also, it's not just prompts, but the input data, the input reference material that you put in.
So let's get a couple of questions and then we'll move on. But first, let's give him a hand for putting that together. Questions, comments? Yes. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so we at Rapido have been using HeyGen for some time now. It's a beautiful tool. but it's got its own limitations because, as you said, you are as good as your input stuff, right? Expressions are zilch, emotions are zero. Okay, it's just very clinical in its approach. Do you have a way around that to beat that?
Absolutely. So even in this video, you may have seen that the expressions are next to nothing and emotions are next to nothing. And that's because I naturally have very few emotions anyway. But the way around it would be that if you get your training data, the video or the audio or the text that goes into it, if you make sure that the training data into that tool is very diverse. So you, in your reference video, you make sure that you have a range of emotions being shown. You are also categorizing them on the basis of, this is how I would sound if I'm happy. This is how I would sound if I'm excited. And so
there's a crisis. This
exactly,
is how I'm talking about.
Exactly. So your model will also reflect that range as long as you can classify it. That's the same thing we did. For example, with Sujit and his team, we did a training workshop for them in Andaman. And we showed them how you could take your spokesperson's tweets or articles or whatever, and you take them from a diverse point of view. One tweet for wishing a holiday, one tweet for crisis or something like that. The more diverse your training data is, the better prepared your tool will be to sort of replicate that.
So my question is that if I know of an ideal outcome, which I want to be delivered. So if I know an ideal outcome of the content which I want, and if I tell you the end state, would you be able to guide us A, B, C, D, so that that outcome can be achieved?
Yes.
Is it possible?
Yes, it's possible.
We need to talk.
Okay, so yeah, just we have very little time, so quick.
No, so my question is, in terms of the authenticity, Zomato did this on Father's Day, and there's a lot of celebrities who do this, and they send out various videos out.
At the end of the day, aren't we just killing the tool by being what stops you from doing an actual film rather than using all this?
So I think lots of questions will emerge from this. I'm happy to take them, discuss it.
Even one last question, otherwise the itch will remain,
Sure.
So the point is, all these videos which get created, where do they rest? Tomorrow, is it, so say for example, internally for my organization across almost 80 countries where we export, we create a video in different languages and that goes out. And that would have more intimate conversation about what the company is doing, what's the profitability stuff and motivating the sales stuff, etc. Now that content, I don't want it to become public. So it's not resting any which was on my server. So where does it rest? What is the mechanism to make it?
Okay, let's get one more question.
Yeah, that is similarly the question concerns on privacy and how is my data stored.
Okay. You had a quick question, right?
It's more of a response to what Manchu was referring to. I think AI, in this case, for example, in terms of the generation of video and everything, I work with a video agency, and most of the voiceover that they do nowadays, at least I've been seeing in 2-3 times, in the approval process they are sending us all AI generated voice, and only once we sign off on it do they actually go to the studio and record the actual guy.
So a lot of questions, if you can just sum it up.
So just one.
What's
your take on the quality of the translation? Because I suddenly realized that we're so dependent. Most of us don't know the language.
I'll start with that one because I couldn't.
No, it's very faulty.
Exactly. Yeah,
that's it. It's a very mild word.
You say spotty, is that what you said?
Faulty.
No,
faulty. Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
So that was precisely the reason why I kept it as such, to show that it can get you that far, but if there's a last mile. Exactly. Yeah. On Himanshu's point, I think the biggest benefit is scale, cost, and those kind of things. If I made an error, I can always go back and fix it. I don't have to rent a studio again. On the data, where the data is stored, that issue. Right now it's stored on their servers. This and another tool called Synthesia are the most ethical, airtight ecosystems where this can happen. Right now they are taking very small baby steps, so it's fairly safe. But like with anything with the AI, you've got to assess it case by case.
One thing, how much does that cost?
So the tool is $29 for a month, which gives you about 15 of such videos that I.
Wow, that's
it's
very,
incredible.
very affordable. Therefore, thank you, Hemant. Great job. Thank you. Please talk to him more at lunch about this. So, couple of yeah.
The more you think about AI, the more you get palpitations and almost anxiety, because a video like that, of course, it has all these good applications, but it could also have so much. Like every time you open the phone and you allow it to scan your retina, your eyes, your image, what is possible if somebody really wants to do something?
So I think it's a build on what she was saying, right? It's not a question, but it's an observation, or it's a question for all of us to think about. We are looking at upskilling ourselves through this session. We take it back to our teams, but does it also mean that we need to take a step back and look at what's the kind of talent we are bringing into our teams? Right? Is it going to be enough to just upskill the existing communications talent, or do we need to create a role or a position which is more technical, understands AI as a technology in a lot more depth, right? Because that's when we are going to be able to really derive the right value out of it and deliver the right value out of it.
Excellent points. And something that I would encourage all of you to think about is that this is all version 1, basically, right? Version 1 just released. Imagine version 3, 5, 10. The best example I give people is the iPhone. Anybody remembers when it was first launched, it didn't even have cut and paste. You couldn't do cut and paste on iPhone. Now every Android, every iPhone, the level of quality and what you can do is just stunning. So here, we're just going to move on because we just have 15 minutes or so. This is, I don't know how much AI affected the Indian elections which has passed, but the US elections have already been affected. Here is where the most important thing you can do to sabotage the US elections is not to tell people to vote for you. It's to tell people no need to vote, because it's so hard to vote in the US. So somebody sent out a voicemail in the voice of Biden telling thousands of people don't vote today. No need to vote, we've already won the election. So you're going to see that at scale. Millions of people are going to get this in their phone saying we've already won. By noon or 2 o'clock they'll get it on November 7th and say, you stay home, we've won already. And that's going to affect the elections because, as you know, the election is going to come down to a few thousand people. In a country of 330 million people with turnout of only 40%, it's going to come to a few thousand people in a few states. So that's what you're going to see. So here already somebody charged someone for the primary election, 26 counts, violating the law. He's being fined $6 million, right? What is it where, they spend more than $1 billion on the campaign. So what is $6 million fine, right? Nothing. This guy will be a hero in the party for doing this. And that's what you're going to see at scale coming. And that's a major issue for all of us. So I just want to show you what's in the rest of the deck because we won't have time to go through all that stuff. Some use cases here. Is Spotify popular in India? Yeah. So do they have the DJ yet? The AI DJ in Spotify? So I don't know if it'll show up here. This is what it sounds like. So let's see.
You're here with your DJ X. To start, we're going to dive into a mix of music that kind of just feels like you, Mohammed Rafi leading the way.
Mohammed Rafi leading the way. So what it does is it listens to your history of the music and it'll say, today is raining, and 2 years ago when it was raining in June, you liked this song, so it's going to play that. So AI in your song choices, what you're listening to, is a huge part of it. And Spotify has said they're investing millions of dollars in AI for their products. You're seeing things like Google Slides incorporating AI and everything. I asked it to do a group learning in Singapore. Like, this image is okay and that image is okay, but what the hell are the rest of these things? What is that, right? Doesn't make sense. How hard is it to draw group learning in Singapore? So this is what we have to be careful about. And why I loved Hemant's point about the quality of what you put in is what you get out of it, right? And so that's something to really think about. Here is that AI feature in Zoom. Some people have seen it already, AI Companion and AI Summary. You press this, in 30 minutes you get a summary of the call. And then the second thing is AI Companion. You can say, catch me up. What are the action items? Was my name mentioned? All of that you can do in Zoom today. Version 1. Imagine version 2, version 3. One thing to be careful about, because this happens in offices all the time. Let's say 4 of us on our call, and Yatin steps out. It's still recording. And if we start talking about Yatin, because he's not in the Zoom call, he can get the alert that these are all the things we said about him. So I have seen in US offices, this has already become a crisis where people have been talked about and galis and all this stuff has happened. So please watch out when you use this. Is anybody using this yet? Yeah, you're using it. So any thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's great for minutes of the meeting.
Okay, great for minutes of the meeting. But here's one issue is that it seems really good, but it's the emphasis may be wrong, or it didn't understand a word and it'll just delete that portion. So you might have spent 15 minutes talking about X, but it didn't understand it, it'll just delete that, and then you'll think, so when you read it, it's sort of like any note taker, right? Yeah. Even your secretary taking minutes can make mistakes, so that is part of it. The other thing I just wanted to talk about your point, can you mention that again, what you were saying about the kind of people we hire? So one thing we're seeing in US resumes already, prompt writing is already a skill being asked for in corp comm jobs already. Prompt writing, advanced prompt writing. You've heard another term for this, it's called prompt engineering.
Which I was saying, how the AI can,
So that's something that you can think about. Here is one of my favorite tools, it's called the Angry Email Translator. You write an angry email and it'll translate it into something soft and nice. And somebody said, well, what about the reverse of this? I want something, my team is too nice, so we're going to take something nice and turn it around so you can have fun with that. LinkedIn is doing a lot of AI, including AI prompts, AI suggestions. When you post something, you'll see on the bottom, it will suggest, what does this mean? It'll give you ideas, all kinds of things happening there. This is really helpful. These are two charts. Remember Cadabra became Amazon? You remember Backrub became Google? So here are the top privately held AI companies for different subjects. Look at this, materials, fashion, retail, energy, healthcare, all of these in 2023. So I'm showing you this. I'm going to show you the 2024 in just a second, so you'll want to grab that as well. So these are companies you've never heard of, but some of them will become very famous and very popular and very, very big. Next one is 2024, so grab this as well. And you can see it's much more clean, right? It says vertical AI, horizontal AI, and AI infrastructure. Sorry, let me step out. Yeah.
Okay, I just have a question. If AI is so big, and it's god of everything.
It's a god of everything.
Okay. One thing which is killing the fashion industry is obsolete stuff. With dormancy.
You mean like with fast fashion?
With fast fashion and what to create, what not to create, the amount of dump which we are creating, all that stuff, What's going to sell? What is not going to sell?
Right.
You have mentioned 3-4 people here. I know quite a few because I'm from fashion industry. There is nobody who has been able to crack that code. Okay.
But that predictive possibility is what is going to happen. But it's so early, right?
Yeah.
I mean, let's not forget all of this is from a year and a half ago.
No, that is one thing. Coming on to the marketing side, I spend $100. $50 is working, but which one is working, I do not know.
Yeah, that's an old saying, right?
No. In this case, I'm on TV.
Right.
Okay. Park is the study metrics, which gives me certain data which proves it was you got this much GRP and all that stuff, right? Digital. We were just on IPL with Geo. Okay. How many impressions did I burn? They can give me that, but what did it get me?
Yeah, that's the hard part.
Mixed market modeling issue.
Okay.
Mixed marketing modeling issue is.
No. That is one is mixed. Designing your marketing mix, which one is working and to what extent it's working and which aspect is not working. I think AI and its two fathers will take some time.
Okay, let's keep going.
I can get there, but that piece of work is happening.
And that's happening because of the expertise of people, right? That's the thing to keep in mind. I want to show you an AI content detector. So let's say your child submits a paper for class. And the teacher grades it at 97% human. This is 100% human from my newsletter written by me, and it says it's 97%. So I'm okay with that. But what if my teacher's cutoff is 98%? Then my kid has failed that class. right? And so I don't think as a society we've talked about this. I don't think we are teaching our children to understand these tools. So the AI detection and the tools detecting AI detectors is a big cat and mouse game that's going to play out over the next few months and years. So yeah.
We did an exercise in drafting releases and testing it out.
Yeah.
I had my team sitting and drafting it from scratch.
Yeah.
And when we tested it out, it always had 85%, in terms of that it's been copied from us.
Sure.
Somewhere in our own thinking, we picked up from different sources, our vocabulary, our structure. So it does, that risk is always there.
Yeah. But that percentage can make a difference, right? What is that? So thank you. That's a great observation. One of the points I want to make also, like Hemant made, about the quality of who makes the data, right? So here you're seeing a woman on the left. She uploaded a photo to say, make my photo better, make me look better. And look what happened to her. Look what happened to her hair, her eyes, her body. Everything was changed by AI. Why? Because these are tech bros sitting in Silicon Valley who are deciding this is a prettier image than this, right? Sorry? Is it kind of racist? Yeah, I mean, there was a new survey done. The Wall Street Journal did a big takeout. You might have seen it. 150 of these models they tried, and everything came back to a certain look would be is a pretty woman versus anything else. Yeah.
2 points. One is basically how going further. So I think we all can relate to what is immediate to us.
Sure.
And thereby a lot of questions and concerns are coming. But going further, the question is the definition of identity.
Yeah.
Because if everything is going to be from an accessibility and knowledge perspective, it's going to become neutral, then how am I going to separate myself from you?
Yeah.
So that's the question.
That's a great question, and that goes back to the idea of expertise. The humanness of our work is going to really stand out in what we do. So we've just last 5 minutes. I want to talk to you about this idea of that AI isn't that it gives you answers. It's the power of the questions you ask. And so I love this this comment, and lots of great ideas come out of this. So it forces you to ask better questions. So say that to your team when they come to you. It's all about the questions. So here are some tools to think about for you to write better prompts, right? Be clear and specific, use relevant keywords, and then try starting your prompt with one of these words. List something, generate something, produce something, propose something, compile something. Brainstorm for me a list of things to do in Bhopal on a rainy day, right? Rather than just say raining Bhopal ideas, right? Be specific in what you do. Outline, develop, answer, outline, write, all of these tools, these words you can use to be better at this. Make sense? Okay? Sure.
So what we did was when we were trying to work on some videos on Copilot, we weren't getting it right.
We went on to, sorry?
Could you repeat that?
Yeah, so when we were trying to get some videos and content created on Copilot, we weren't getting it right the way we wanted. So we went to ChatGPT and generated the prompts. And that gave us a better result. ChatGPT gave us a series of very sharper and very, kind of focused prompts, which gave us a very good quality on Copilot.
I was embarrassed to see there was a typo here, right? A comma, periods of comma. So if you want to take another picture of this, you can do that. Humans also make mistakes, so you can grab that. Then here's something that you always want to ask. How do you know? How do you know this is correct? Show me the steps. Remember when you're dealing with children who do maths equations or whatever, they show you the answer. You say, show me the steps. Show me the work, right? Show me the work. The steps are really important. Any chance you've made mistakes, ask that again and again and again, and you will see it makes a difference. This is obviously something you'll want to click through. Muckrack has 100 prompts for PR pros. Beginner's prompt, it's for news publishers, but it's very good for PR. And Prompt Pal, all they do is generate best prompts, so you can check that out as well. Again, we're going to send you the whole deck, updated deck with all the ideas you had in there as well. There are lots of hashtag generators for, you submit a picture and it tells you what hashtags to use. I want common hashtags or rare hashtags or popular hashtags. So they still need work, but you can try them, and there's some opportunities there. Here, I want to spend a minute on a new thing inside ChatGPT. So ChatGPT, for the $20 a month, you get the pro version. And they now have an app store inside ChatGPT where anybody can make an app and submit it. So let's say one of those ideas we had, we could make it and publish it as the assembly prompt on whatever it is. And they used to charge money. You had to be a member, you had to pay the $20 to be in the app store. Now it's free. So anybody with a ChatGPT OpenAI account can access it. To publish, you need a $20 a month account. So I went in here and I said, show me an image of a workshop in Bhopal, and it created a workshop in Bhopal, right? Now, the fact that it thought of, I didn't say where Bhopal is or anything. Remember, this is an American company, but it did a lot right and a lot wrong, right? Because if you go back in you see the clues here. It says, workbenches cluttered with tools, hammers, screwdrivers, wrenches, an anvil and a vice might be present. A person wearing traditional Indian attire like a kurta, right? If this was in Kerala, they might have done a munda, right? Like, so that kind of thing. Small electrical fan or basic cooling system in a warm place like Bhopal. Look at all the thinking it's doing. In seconds it does this. So this is a prompt that only does these black and white images like this. They do them, so it's free and you can get that inside ChatGPT in the App Store. And here are some tools you can try. There are so many tools. We don't have time to go through them. But take an image of this. Perplexity, which is run by an Indian CEO, Indian American CEO, is really good. Claude.ai. The App Store link is there. So all of this you'll find in the presentation itself. There may be, and Hemant might have an idea on any newsletters that you recommend beyond the ones up here. Maybe you have one. I would read it.
Yeah, I have to.
Okay. Okay, you can share it at some point. So you can check these out. Oh, by the way, this app is called Sketchy, S-K-E-T-H-Y, which allows you instantly to generate black and white sketches. And then I have a series of essays I've written on AI that you can see here. And then I want to give you my takeaways on AI. So before I give you my last slide and lunch, I want to just see if we have maybe one or two questions, just general broad questions that you might want to ask. Yeah.
So hi, I'm Priya from Invesco Asset Management. Sree, you asked all of us for our suggestions. How do we want to leverage AI? I want to ask you, a question on the basis of whatever suggestions came. Did we really leverage the power of AI through our ideas, or did we? Because what we suggested is the visibility we have today. Did we do justice, or we did, we just reduced the whole thing as a support partner? So that's the perspective I want to know from you.
Great question. I'll answer that. Let's get a couple more questions in. Yeah.
Sree, I have a question on, since we are using AI and everything, and you also cross-reference your best friend here, Elon Musk, in that. Will AI lead to something which is also happening in the industry, which is juniorization? Will that lead? Because you are referring to prompt, writing better prompts and everything, but there's the great side of AI. Yeah, I understand, everybody also agrees on it, but there's also another. As we grow in careers, but then will that be a limiting factor, and they say, okay, we can, like a founder or like how Twitter stuff he took out. Similarly, Tesla doesn't have a communications function, right? So,
yeah, my favorite crazy part of, I have many crazy Elon stories, but my favorite is that if a journalist from the New York Times wrote to PR at twitter.com, they got a poop emoji back.
Yeah.
Automatically, every single journalist got a poop emoji back from, that's what he thinks of communications, what he thinks of all of this stuff. Yeah.
Actually,
yes.
Yeah.
So I'll come there.
So recently
I'm going to answer all of these together.
In the recruitment field, they're talking a lot about bias, the AI bias which is there. So recently there is a professor who in her class asked the students to say that give a prompt for a job profile, and they would say, what are the qualities, what are the words in the resume, the adjectives that you would use for, let's say, a data analyst. The moment you say that it just assumes that the data analyst is a man. And when you say that, the same thing you say that a data analyst but a woman, the adjectives change from sharp, insightful, it goes on to say friendly, cooperative. Now, what do you do about that? What's the solve for that? Because if you were to say the solve is to have more women writing codes, then that's a altogether different problem. So how do we solve for that?
Thank you. One more question.
Yeah, so this is just very briefly touching on the aspect of where AI is going to lead us in context to trust deficit, right? So from brands to individuals, how are we going to work towards creating trust when there will be no trust?
So that's a great question about how do we build. Okay, one more question.
Just one quick thing, Sree. In terms of, so is there a way that you can aggregate Gen AI apps? For instance, say if I want to do influencer mapping, or I want to do crisis mapping, or I want to do content. So right now, the one main thing that we use Gen AI for is content creation. But it's very limited at this point. So is there a tool or a platform where you can aggregate this? That say this is my need, and it throws up, this is the platform and you can sort of use that. Is there a way to aggregate?
Thank you. So that's a lot of, yes.
One last question, and then we'll have lunch. So the point is, so we at our, on an average, this room has about 25 plus years experience. What about the new generation which is coming into the PR? What according to you are the 4 or 5 competencies that we as functional heads need to go back and ensure that the new kids in the blocks who are coming in, joining the PR industry, should get it, give them experience. We ourselves are learning, but when they come to us, they shouldn't be remaining irrelevant. So what are those 4 or 5 things that competencies you think?
Thank you. And now Amit has given me dirty look, so I'm really going to wrap up here. I have 2 things to do: answer these questions and then show you my takeaways slide. That's one slide, and then we're done. So lots of great questions that we could have kept going, but we don't have time. So talking to the young people and what you're hiring, I think the biggest, I still do journalism, so I receive a lot of inquiries from Indian journalists, US journalists, UK, Europe, everywhere. The biggest thing that young corp comms people don't understand is the relationship management, right? This is a very important part of what you all know, what you grew up learning, how the touch points, the give and take of journalism and PR. It's not like just one way, give me these things. People write to me on short notice, they ask for things, they've not checked if I've written something about it last week, right? Like things like that you know about, that people complain. So the human factor is what's missing. I've never got up and said, gee, I wish there's more AI in my interactions with PR people. I want more human touch. I want more human expertise. I want more understanding of what I have done so that I can help them, right? And the other part that happens in social media that you all know is that journalists are oversharing, right? On LinkedIn, they're oversharing. So you have a chance every day to touch points with a journalist without asking for anything. You don't have to ask, please write about me. The journalist is sharing something, you can go and put in a comment saying, really great story, or I love it when PR people suggest ideas that are not their clients, because they're just being helpful guys and gals, right? So that then the next time when they call me about something, I remember they helped me in something else. And you all have so many contacts and so many things. How do we get that knowledge transferred to the young people is what my answer to that. In terms of, your question was about, sorry? Leveraging the way in which we think about this. I think that we have lots of opportunities, but we're not doing enough with this. And so how do we push that and get people to think about that is really important. We had a question about trusting the brands, right? How do we get brand, like one thing that the FT announced, some of you may have seen this, the FT announced we will not do any Gen AI in our stories. And as soon as I saw that, I said, this is a stupid idea. Because first of all, how do you know your freelancers won't use Gen AI? Second, why is Gen AI so bad? Just because you use Gen AI doesn't mean it's bad. The Grammy Awards announced no music with AI will be allowed to be entered in. Again, I said stupid idea because you already have synthesizers and auto-tune and all of that. They will remove that rule, I promise you, within the next 2 years. So, you had also mentioned about how our agencies are sending us things that are generated by AI. One of the things you should say to them is, I don't want Gen AI generated. The voices are one thing, but like if they're going to just go into ChatGPT and enter something, then I can do that. right? What are you bringing to us? Like, let's hold our agencies to higher standards about this, because they're all just sitting there and just typing in. Not everybody, I mean. But how do we do that? I think is something that we should be thinking about. He talked about the juniorization of this, right? I'm hopeful in the other direction. I think you guys, the more senior people, are going to be more relevant, because as an MD, I trust you, and you know how to use these tools. When to not use these tools is also important, I think. And you had a question about, are we doing this justice, the exercise? I thought, if we had another half hour, what I would have done was voted on out of the 20 whatever, I would have picked 5, and then say, let's actually brainstorm and, right, Hemant, you could have actually turned 2 of those are operationable, right? Or weaponizable, whatever you want to think about it. So we can do that. All right. So now I'm sorry if I didn't get to your points or your questions. I'm here for lunch. I'm here the next 2 days also. So here are my takeaways. And so this is my takeaway slide, and you may want to take a picture of the takeaway slide. First is that no tech can live up to all this hype, right? That's like, this is all such craziness. And every industry will be affected, and lots of money will be made and lost. It's already happened. Most careers will be upended in unexpected ways. So we have to pay close attention and learn new skills, and that's what you all did by coming here and learning these new skills, working together when you could have been doing other things. The great quote from Daniel Pink, which I love, as you know, and that they aren't hallucinations, and to be vigilant about the dangers. Remember, the AI companies the social media companies didn't fix the social media problems. They just punted it and just said somebody else will take care of it. Same thing will happen with AI companies. They're not going to fix any of these problems. So we have to hold them responsible. And then this final thought is, in between the machines and the humans, I believe humans will win. But the question is, which humans, right? Is it going to be the same few companies make all the money? We have to just succumb to whatever they say. We have no say in things. Or does it spread more evenly? Do we step up and encourage Indian companies and other companies to be doing this? Because the good thing is that the playing field is so leveled out now that a lot of the things that took heavy tech and other things, and why social media really succeeded elsewhere, not didn't homegrown social media platforms, I think this is a chance for India, and I think there will be a lot done. So on that note, I want to say that I started by saying the scarcest resource is, anybody remember? Human attention, right? And you gave me 2.5 hours of human attention. What an incredible gift. Thank you so much, everybody. Really.